All right, dietary supplements. So the first thing is understanding what a dietary supplement is and the definition and how it actually ties into someone's program. So what is a dietary supplement?
Something you take that puts you on a diet.
Something you intake.
Something you intake, but ready?
Helps you perform better.
Helps you.
It helps fill the gaps of any nutritional deficiency. Okay, so what that is, it's dietary supplement is supplement the dietary need. Okay, just like that. So when you see something that says dietary supplement, it's there because you lack thereof the nutrient that you are trying to purchase. So when someone's like, oh, well, I need to take a protein, okay? Now we already know about protein shakes. We already covered all that stuff, but it's a dietary supplement. It would be to supplement the dietary need of needing more protein. Notice how I talked about fish oil before, right? If you cannot get enough fish, you should be taking a fish oil supplement. All right, we talked about that. And so that's because you're not getting enough fish, right? And that's what you need to have for you to perform as a baseball athlete. So big thing is understanding what age categories fall under for you to take certain products. That's going to be one thing. Second thing is knowing that if you take something out of the age range base of what a supplement would be there for you, you can have risk of damaging your body. Okay, so this is where we get into some more advanced stuff. But if you do take something and you don't need it at all, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to waste it. Okay? And so many athletes will waste their money on stuff thinking they're getting something and they're not. That's why I talk about the protein thing in the beginning. And I'm like, hey, understanding what the regulations are and the bioavailability, we talked about all that stuff. It was to get you to understand how protein works. And so the big thing is understanding now what we need to take so that way we can perform better. Number one, are you going to get enough fruits and vegetables every day?
No.
No. Thank you. You're not going to. So let's go ahead and cover a multivitamin. I'm going to put MV. Okay? Every age range, right? There's almost no way we can consume enough vitamins, minerals across the whole entire spectrum. There's no way we're going to do that. So we need to make sure we're taking something. Now, back in the day, everybody took what kind of multivitamin?
Tums. Or, no.
Flintstones, thank you.
I don't know.
So listen, so Flintstone vitamins, look, they were a baseline vitamin. There's nothing wrong with Flintstones. There was nothing wrong with it. And a lot of people, they get away from it as they get older because you're like, well, I don't need to take it no more because I'm not young anymore. No, this is where you need it the most. As you get older, you need it more and more. And as you get older, a high-performance multivitamin becomes even more important. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little star down here next to my guys with the 18 and up. You need to probably take a high-performance multivitamin, something like Opti-Men, Mega-Men. There's one from another company called Orange Triad. There's like a whole bunch of different ones that are out there. But the truth is like a high-performance multivitamin is going to cover so much more gaps because as you're a performing athlete, your muscles are expending so much waste. And your liver's on overdrive. And if your diet is just slightly off a little bit, you're going to miss some different items that you can't have results in. And you want to stay away from that. So ultimately, having a good multivitamin that's going to be high performance is going to be very important. But for anybody else, you can take almost any multivitamin you want to. One a day. You know, like I said, it could be, you could take a Flintstone if you want to do it your whole life. There's people that have done that go on totally fine. This will also help you with getting sick. Because if you're sick, how useful are you as a teammate?
Not
useful.
Zero. If you're injured, how useful are you as a teammate? Ryan's not useless.
I'm sorry.
However, wait, it's good to note this though. He can't play right now, right? So he can't really help you. Now he can help you as a teammate and do other things and be a part of it and still be present, which is super important. But can he play the game right now? No. And so when you're injured, you cannot participate, which does not help. So overall, you need to protect yourself and keep from being sick. You want to keep from being injured. These are things that happen, and freak accidents happen. Sometimes these things happen. That's normal. That happens. And it's not a big deal. But if we can prevent it, If we can take care of ourselves better, we should. What's the next one that everybody roughly should take because you're not going to get enough of?
Fish oil.
Thank you. I'm going to put FO. Right? So every age range, every single age range. Fish oil. Everybody should have it. Pretty straight up and down. We don't need to dive crazy into this. Just make sure, once again, if you're eating, a diet that's got a lot more fish in it, it should be okay. But if your diet is only once a week kind of thing, twice a week max, you probably need to take a fish oil product. That's going to really help with a lot of areas for baseball players. Next one. What's the next hot one?
Trend.
No. I'll get to that one at the end.
Creatine.
Let's go protein first. But creatine we'll do after that. Protein. Who can take protein?
Everyone.
Anybody can, right? So anybody can. Okay. But we know this about protein. Okay. How much are we getting that's bioavailable?
Not a lot.
50%.
Thank you. 50%. 50% is generally what you're going to get unless you're what?
Athlete.
Not an athlete, but if you take more,
Steps.
right? If you have enough food that have more BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, so that way you get more muscle protein synthesis. That will increase the bioavailability of protein. Okay? That's how protein shakes work. You can't just take protein shakes and weight gainers and think that's going to work because it ain't. All right? So that's that. Moving on to the next one. Amino acids. Who can take amino acids?
Everyone.
Anyone. Why?
Because they're amino
Because they're
acids.
healthy. Because we need them.
Because they are a necessity and they're the building blocks of protein. And so therefore you can take aminos. If you can take protein, you can take aminos. However, the big problem is if you don't drink enough water,
You're done.
then this is a higher concentrated level as a supplement, which means that most of these guys probably shouldn't. See, I'm going to slightly erase that. So that way you can kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. Partially, okay, some younger athletes can get away with taking that as long as they take good care of themselves. And you got to work out. You got to, okay? This is part of the life functioning system for baseball athletes, so that's got to be a part of it. But if you're younger and you don't have that, your filtering system can back up. You'll get kidney stones, and you will not be happy. No one wants to pee a stone. That's not fun, okay? And you can do that with any product if you don't drink enough water. So be careful. So, next one. Someone said it?
Creatine.
Creatine. Oops, I didn't mean to
I
put
said
it
it,
there.
Coach. It was me.
Shut up, okay. Notice how I put the C's here. So if you're 10 to 13 years old, you are out. You will not be taking any creatine. There's no way. However, this is where it begins, and I'm going to lightly do this, right, on this one, because it's mostly at the 15, 16-year-old level. That's where it normally starts to be okay. Now, creatine is naturally found in the body, right? It's naturally found in the muscle. So it's a part of energy, natural energy. And if we increase that, then we got to use it. One of the reasons why youth athletes got a bad rap with creatine is because everyone's like, well, it just pumps water in your muscles. And I'm like, it does, but what else?
It retains it.
What's that?
It retains it.
It retains it, okay, so gives you water retention. It's going to sit there and sit, but then you have to maintain that, and you have to use it, and you have to drink enough water. And creatine requires something to metabolize through the kidneys. Does anyone want to take a guess on what that is? Don't say it.
Why do you keep saying Trent?
That was Benjamin.
Ready? Sugar.
Sugar.
What do you like that?
I knew it, Coach.
So sugar, all right? Now here's the thing, ready? Sugar, for it to metabolize through the kidneys, requires a certain amount for creatine to work, okay? If it's under 40 grams, 50 grams, it will not work, which means you need to take something with a lot of sugar in it. I used to tell guys that would take regular creatine monohydrate back in the day, I'd be like, listen, I need you to drink like this with a whole bunch of Kool-Aid, like tons of sugar. And they're like, Kool-Aid? I'm like, yes. They're like, but isn't that bad for you? I'm like, yes. but the creatine has to have that. It's a part of it. And so if you want creatine to work right, it has to be in benefit of that. See how fresh that is?
That's like pajamas. You told me to drink apple juice.
Yes, and so I will tell you, you need to have some kind of juice with creatine for it to metabolize. But once again, it's an age category thing. As it gets to the further levels, yeah, it's pretty much like a must-have if you want to grow at any type of faster rate. It is very important because you're going to increase the energy inside the muscle and it will stick. A lot of uneducated people that do not understand how this stuff works, they'll just tell you that, oh, well, don't take it because you're just going to lose it. Those are for the dummies that only took it for 30 days and quit. That's who never seen results with creatine. But if you took it for 3 to 6 months consistently and did the right stuff, that stuff works every time. Cheapest bang for the buck if you need immediate energy and you need some more muscle, you want to get jacked a little bit, creatine works. Been proven safe for high school athletes for over, ready for this, for over 40 years, almost out-proving protein. That's how long it's been studied with probably over 100,000 peer-reviewed documentation, which means this has been studied in every major university to be proven safe and effective for athletic performance, and it's got a bad rap because of not so smart people. But that's what people remember, okay? So as you hear that, if there's any questions from parents, especially, once again, I'm not talking about, and I lightly kind of went through the creatine thing on the younger age side here. I don't need you 13, 14. I don't need you even talking about creatine really, okay? But once you get to 15, 16, if you have an honest conversation with your parents and you'd like to start taking it, you want to make sure you get the right stuff, let me know. I will gladly take care of you. I will talk to your parents if I need to. We will make sure that you get on the right track. Sound good? Okay. Last but not least, okay, and I can go on for a lot of these different things, but I do want to cover over this last one.
What's it called? Trend.
Trend. Okay. So I'm going to talk about just this for just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and take this word completely off the board in a second because I'm going to explain how stupid this is.
Trend twins.
So you hear trend. Does anyone know what trend is?
Steroids.
All right, it's a steroid. All right, so we're going to use that as an example. Now, tren is a chemical compound steroid that has multiple areas that comes inside your body. It's got to metabolize through your liver. That metabolite is at such a high dose that your liver enzymes will skyrocket like you're an alcoholic. Okay? This is what they don't tell you. So people that take an oral steroid, something like that, because it's accessible in the market, you will see this giant spike of testosterone. If you're not someone who works out and you get a giant spike, you can ruin yourself from even having kids in the future. You will also have other side effects. There's a lot of things you could screw up if you don't know what you're doing with that stuff. And then you have to take a post cycle to get your hormones to re-regulate. So I put this here because this seems to be a conversation that happens. Usually for athletes, somewhere between 16 and 18 years old, we see that, okay? There's no 16 to 18-year-old that really should be on it. It's just it's the reality of the world we live in today that some kids are just gonna do it, okay? And so I always leave an open door policy for these things. If you're considering anything crazy, you better come talk to me. I'm gonna talk you off the ledge, okay? The next thing is I'm gonna make sure you're fully educated as to what goes on with it, because even if you say, I don't care what you say, Coach AJ, I'm still gonna do it. Number one, I'm probably gonna kick you out of my program. Number two, if I don't kick you out of my program, I'm gonna probably have to talk to your parents about it. Number three, you better know if you hit it, okay? Because I always tell people, if you leave me, I want you to know that you're gonna be a better person. If for some reason you still went against the grain and said, screw my parents, screw Coach AJ, I'm never listening to anybody, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm getting jacked tomorrow. All right, let's say that was the theme, all right? I still wanna make sure you're educated enough to not hurt yourself, okay? Because there's high risk in this stuff. It is not safe, it is not okay to take. It is not smart. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off, okay? So when we say things like this, there's a lot of misunderstanding that's there for a steroid. And steroids have been used in the industry forever, so I want to leave this as a final education piece for dietary supplements. Steroids came out originally back in the medical industry when?
40s. 60s.
More towards the 60s, 70s, testing in 60s and 70s. And so here's the thing. It's been used for a long, long time. And there was a steroid era that hit baseball. Do you guys remember that?
Mark McGuire.
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa. Man, listen, if you ever want to see some of the most jacked baseball players in history, they lived in the 90s. They were all taking Tren and all sorts of other, there's a whole list of them. They were taking all sorts of stuff, and their arms were like this. Like they were huge, okay? And they found out real quick that muscular performance changed the game, all right? Since then, the testing has increased dramatically for baseball. Okay, they found guys, they find them, they kicked them out. There's other guys that had to go to jail. There was like a whole bunch of things that went behind it. After that happened, okay, it pretty much came to a point where the baseball community was like, well, how do we get this to be a part of the baseball community without using steroids? And they found out through proper exercise, programming, and nutrition, it's possible to get really jacked. Like you can get big and you can get strong. You can do it without taking anything. And what it is, it takes a little bit of education, but people say like, you know, knowledge is power. You ever hear that? Yeah. That's crap. I've always said that. Well, knowledge is not power. That's not knowledge is nothing if you don't use it. Knowledge just sits if you don't use it. You got to use it. And so if you have the baseline knowledge to be like, hey, I know what to do to get my muscles to grow, then that's power. If you use it. It's not if you do nothing with it. So my recommendation is this. When you leave, okay, and you go home and you start looking at your nutrition, you start building up how to put this whole thing together, I want you to really isolate this through and think about how you should be doing certain things if you are, or lack of. If your diet is predominantly fruits, vegetables, fish, chicken, do you need any of this? Probably not. Probably not. But for most people, that's hard. And so let's say you're missing some fruits and vegetables. What should you take? Multivitamin. If you don't have enough fish in your diet, what should you take?
Fish oil.
All right. Right? And we all know if your protein's low, it's no good. Right? Protein's low, you gotta go. You gotta find a way to use protein up. But your best source of a protein supplement, if you were thinking about it, would be what instead of taking a powder?
Creatine.
No.
Fish oil.
If it wasn't protein shakes, what can you take that's like a protein shake? Chocolate milk. Thank you. Chocolate milk is loaded in branched chain amino acids, and amino acids, it's going to cover a lot of that ground, right? You see that? See, I gave you the answers to this long before because I wanted you to be prepared with natural food. I don't want you to have to rely on supplements. I don't want your parents to have to pay for a whole bunch of stuff. But is it necessary at times for you to perform better? Absolutely. Sometimes it is, especially in today's world. Our food is just not the same, right? Like I said, Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets ain't the same as regular chicken from your house. Right? I know. But it's just the truth. So, is there any questions on dietary supplements? Anything at all? Is there anything at all that you had a question about pertaining to something different you may have heard of?
What's the difference between tren and like growth hormone?
Good question. So what's the difference between tren and growth hormones? First of all, tren is an actual prohormone that is a chemical compound just for testosterone. Growth hormone is usually an injectable, or they call it an oral secretagogue, which goes to your pituitary gland that makes you secrete more of the hormone to recover. When you're a baby, do you see how fast babies grow? That's because their pituitary gland is secreting at a rapid rate. That's why. Believe it or not, there's people that were like, dwarfs, that they can cure dwarfism by growth hormone injections. It's curable, but is it financially feasible?
Wait, so dwarfism is curable?
Yes.
Are you being so serious?
100%. I had an athlete that I trained as a hockey player that I'm not even kidding.
You better
Wait,
turn hungry.
Dwarfism? Wait, dwarfism? Is dwarfism the same as being a baby?
Yeah.
So midgets could be bigger?
Yes. Miles!
How tall can one get?
I mean,
And what if you
it depends. Some of it's DNA related, but like growth hormones. So for example, this kid, he was labeled as a dwarf or a midget, and his parents could afford to do the injections, and he did that for years. And when he came in from 13 to 15 years old, this kid, like I'm telling you, was standing up looking at me this tall. And I was like, I cannot even freaking believe this. When I first seen it, it was here, 13 years old. I mean, just so small. And I'm not kidding, way up here, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And the mom was the one that really gave me the initial education on it. And then one of my mentors growing up is a guy named Carl Lapperouse. I'll never, ever go without any type of seminar without giving this man credit. He is a like world-known nutritionist, sports nutrition guy, ex-bodybuilder, works with everybody. He's got a what they call a speed clinic, which does testosterone, growth hormones, stuff like that. And a growth hormone is approximately 150 amino acids in one injection that goes into your bloodstream, and then it makes your pituitary gland secrete at a rapid rate. That's why some athletes recover so fast. And it can change the way their outcomes are throughout the game. So growth hormone, I mean, it's legit, it works, but it's super potent, but totally different than something like Tren that's a pro hormone, okay? That's an oral steroid that's used to go inside the body to increase testosterone. Growth hormone is a separate functioning system than that. So two totally different ends of the spectrum, but both performance enhancing drugs.
What about salt?
Interesting stuff. That's like even a whole deeper branch down the testosterone aisle. And so that's gonna be like way, way deep. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. But that's in the same category as Tren. Yeah. But you see, there's all these different things that are out there. Look at how, like, you guys are asking some good questions right now because look, it's out there, right? It's like, it's knowledge that's out there. But once again, right? Like if you have questions, if your parents have questions, you ask. I'm gonna tell you first and foremost, it's all about raw food. Raw food first. After that, it goes in order, okay? That's the order of importance. Any questions? Any other questions?